So basically, even whenever I was a little kid, I really liked to grow things. My father always had a pretty substantial sized garden, and both of my maternal and paternal grandparents grew a garden. I think most people did back then. And my maternal grandparents grew up as farmers. They both grew up on what I would consider large farms, 100 acres or so. So it was a pretty easy thing for me. It was something it already felt like it was there.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm in Scotland. We had sheep and cows and 600 acres in the Scottish borders. So that was how I grew up. I'm a psychologist by training, so I then left that. It was never my career path. Worked with people for a long time. And then when this opportunity came up here for this land, it felt like just coming home. So just being on a farm. So although we're growing mushrooms, which is a newer thing for me, we still have animals. We've got goats and sheep and horse and a donkey, and so I feel very at home here.
When I was in high school. I was in FFA for 4 years, so I studied horticulture in high school and different agriculture, natural resources, etc. And that's actually where I was introduced to mushroom cultivation. Was when I was 14. Yeah, that's where I got my start, and I was just always really good with plants. I would transplant things out of the forest and around even when I was a little kid, and they would just take off. And I was kind of obsessed with plants even as a pretty young child. I was introduced to basically shiitake cultivation on logs when I was 14. And so after that, so I'm 45 now. So it's been over 3 decades of dabbling into mycology. For me, originally, why I got into mushroom cultivation was that curiosity of something that just kind of shows up in the world. With fungi, oftentimes you plug these logs and then you wait for 6 months to a year, and then all of a sudden there's mushrooms. You don't actually see what's going on inside the log. It seemed like a very low input, maximum yield type cultivation, because I was introduced to log cultivation. And so log cultivation is, you do a lot of the work up front, you plug the logs, and then the logs continue to fruit, oftentimes for anywhere from 3 to 6, 7, 8 years. And of course, like once I discovered indoor cultivation, that's more of a type of intensive farming. And mushrooms are such a curious group of creatures. Like out of the estimated 500 million species on the planet, we know of about 150,000. So there's still so many we do not know about. And that's the thing that keeps me excited about this, is that, there's so much more to be discovered.
Yeah, I got into growing mushrooms because of Chris. It's been his lifelong passion. But I've always loved mushrooms, eating, and been disappointed by what's available in the grocery store. It's just like, so yeah, the ability to learn about and to be able to cultivate all these different types of mushrooms that are delicious. They've always been a significant part of my diet as a vegetarian. So I've just appreciated learning how to incorporate many different types of mushrooms.
So for me, I started in high school, and this was back whenever you had to go to the library. You didn't have, the internet at your disposal, and you could just Google anything you wanted to. So I had to go to the library and check out books and kind of teach myself in that way. So, that was basically in that incessant curiosity. And, fungi are such a new thing that we cultivate. I think that having hurdles and obstacles to overcome in that world has kept my attention for such a long time. And so basically, yeah, I would say that term self-taught, yes, but I learned from reading from other people. Reading books that other people had written. So a lot of people had figured out a lot of these problems, how to do this on a home scale or even a small commercial scale before I came along. And then also doing experimentation myself and seeing what I could get away with was a pretty big part of it. So yes, it was self-taught, but learning from other folks via articles and publications.
Yeah, for me, growing up on a farm, I learned a huge amount, especially about how to be around animals, how to tend to them. But the mushroom's a whole different thing for me, so I've been learning from Chris. We teach classes here at the farm, so the first year we were here, I basically attended all Chris's classes and learned a huge amount. And just, I think for me, just observing and participating, so every day as I work with the mushrooms, I just learn more.